Hi, Garish. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And you do look good, isn't it?
Oh, thank
Ready
you.
for the
So
session.
do you, as usual.
Yeah, thank you. Um, today's session is going to be different from the last one we did. The last one we did was more light, more positive, which was interesting. I think even the one we're doing today is equally interesting, but the theme is much darker today. So we're going to talk about betrayal and heartbreak.
Which is necessary, isn't it? We do have to talk about it to provoke the healing and induce that soothing feeling inside to be able to heal from all of this. As you did say, it is a darker theme because it strikes us at the deepest, most intimate point of ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfectly related to emotional trauma, if I may say, mental, psychological, and ultimately physical. So it is something that has a great impact on us, be it betrayal and the resulting heartbreak and heartache that occur, and that has a significant impact during our whole lives. And if not treated or healed properly, can have simultaneous effects that do have a negative impact in our life afterwards. So it is very important to address that issue. And thank you for putting that theme forward so that we are able to discuss about it. I do believe both me and you will be healing during this because it will even give us the opportunity to express ourselves on that topic. And both me and you, I suppose we do pray that our viewers do benefit from this podcast.
Yeah, I think you're right. And once I was thinking about the worst things that that could happen to me, and for me, one of the worst things is actually getting your trust broken. That is one of the worst things. So I thought it was something like subjective to me, like it's me who thinks betrayal is a very bad thing. But there is a book, I don't know whether you know about it, written by an Italian writer. It's called Dante's Inferno. Okay, a great book in literature actually, and it describes the 9 different hells or layers of hell, which exist on Earth. Okay, so there were hierarchy of hells. Okay, there were 9 layers, and actually written down the different layers just for you to get a context.
It'd be nice for you to share.
Yeah. So there are 9 hierarchies, and the top one is like the worst thing that can happen to you. Okay. So, but first of all, we need to understand that was written in a Christian context at that time. So the first one is limbo. Limbo means when you don't Christian your child when the child is born. So that's considered to be like a small hell. Okay, at that time.
Mostly related to religion, on a religious perspective, I would say.
Yeah, so that was the first one he mentioned about. The second one was lust. The third one was gluttony. Fourth one was greed. Then you had wrath. You have heresy. You have violence, number 7. Number 8 is fraud. And number 9, the last one, is treachery and betrayal. So exactly what we're discussing today. So it was considered exactly that the worst thing that can happen to men on Earth. And if someone goes through that on Earth, it's like the high intensity hell. So it's like one of the biggest sin for someone to do actually betrayal. So it's not just me who thinks that, it's been there.
One of the most purifying processes also, because as a result, everything we go through after that betrayal because let us not forget, whatever has happened to us, whatever is happening to us, we have signed up for that in our soul contract. So if we have signed up to go through that purgatory, as we say, heaven and hell both are here on earth, it means that our soul signed up the contract to go through that, to be able to grow, to purify itself, to move to another level. And most of us, I would say, maybe we have a tendency to forget that. Why? Simply because as a result of betrayal and heartbreak, whatever we go through is so excruciating that it is difficult at that point for us to really focus on, oh my God, it's happening for my own growth, we're going to say, hell not. I didn't sign up for this thing. Which is, at that point for us, it might be true, but on a deeper level, or may I say on a higher level, we did sign up to go through that for our own growth. Change is difficult. And say, for example, somebody is not good for us, for our own company, for our own evolution, definitely that person is going to hurt us one way or the other, for us to willingly let go of that person. Say, for example, we are in a codependent relationship. Of course, as human, we are social creatures. We need to evolve with one another. Affection is important. Touch is important. Talking is important. Sharing, loving is important, to feel loved and accepted. Warmth, that warmth, all of this is very important. But if we are in a relationship where none of us are growing, and both of us, we are dragging each other down, it can be through torture, mental, emotional, physical, then we have to let go of that person to be able to go back into a space where we are able to heal for whatever we went through. So betrayal comes as a way for us also to leave whatever hell we had been going through, to be able to move forward. Sometimes it is difficult to move out of a situation, even if we are experiencing the most brutal torture, because we are afraid of the future. What if I cannot live without that person? But the biggest excuse of all, I love that person, or that person loves me. But let me tell you, dear ones, this is not love. If someone is willingly able to hurt you, be it on a physical, emotional, mental, psychological level, this is not love. This is control. This is manipulation. There's a term I think that we do use for that, isn't it? Oh my God, I do not remember. It's not ghosting, but I don't know if you do remember. Oh, maybe if the term comes back to me, I will speak of it later on. But all of this, as you did say, it is a darker theme, because some of the most vilest emotions are attached to all of that.
Okay. Would you say that? Okay, I always try to understand why people behave the way they do behave. So one reason why people would hurt the other one, let's say, is like a source of defense mechanism. Let's say maybe the person feels threatened. That's when the person attacks the other one personally, let's say. All right. So that's one cause I think is valid. The other one is a bit darker. It's the person is bad. The nature of the person is bad. That's why the person is doing that. So the person is manipulative, like sort of psychopath, let's say. So that could be a reason why the person is behaving like that. And the third one, sometimes I've realized actually that some people behave in aggressive ways, and it's normal for them to do that. So saying something bad to let's say, to someone else, let's say at work, or between friends, saying something bad, it's okay, because the person usually behaves like that or lives in an environment where it's fine. You talk to each other like that, and then you end up speaking to each other nicely afterwards, but you can spit venom to each other also. So it's quite interesting in that sense for me to understand why people behave that way. What's your opinion on that? Do you think it's out of emotions which people can't control, that's when they attack, or it's something else?
I believe, first of all, that it is a family thing. It is a family background thing. See, if a child is growing up in an environment where he is seeing only betrayal, only manipulation, only control, violence, drugs, etc. So definitely, if he has been manipulated, if he has been, if he's growing in such an environment, definitely when he grows up, and we have seen that so much in schools, for example, where we see bullies have themselves been bullied at home. So whatever the person is today, that person is only a product of what his childhood has made him to be up till today. So that is certainly one explanation. Second might be toxic people in his life. That person has become like that because due to their experiences in the past. Let's say, for example, nobody is born bad, right? So at one point, that person in their lives, they have met with toxic people, people who betray, people who manipulate, etc. So definitely at some point they will have their defenses up and will, despite themselves maybe, have a tendency to push others away and reflect a little bit others' behaviors and their experiences. Unfortunately, not realizing in trying to protect themselves, they are pushing others away who might be here with genuine love and affection, and they might be hurting others.
Yeah.
A third perspective might be these persons, see, for example, they see someone who is, let us say, prettier. I do not really believe that concept exists, but for the sake of the language, let's say prettier, more successful, richer, etc. than themselves. There is definitely some inferiority, superiority complex play that is put forward here. And jealousy might be, unfortunately, might be one of the reasons. Of course, all these emotions are not healthy, and unhealthy emotions have a distinctive pattern, of course, in creating something in the physical, which is not healthy and which hence leads to betrayal and heartache. Of course, another perspective might be that the person is emotionally immature, not realizing that, for their own selfishness, doing them something for their own benefit. It does not really mean to hurt others, but some people can be, may have narcissistic traits, might be selfish, might care only for themselves first, and then maybe for others. Hence the pattern of, people playing with the feelings of others, trying to control, having control issues, having codependency issues, being toxic to themselves and to others, because let us not forget that these people, excuse me, these people are suffering from the inside. You have to be a person who is suffering inside to be able to give that to another person. What we have in our basket, will we be able to give that to others, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's certainly a few aspects to take into consideration when we are dealing with such people. It does not mean that the lesson might be easier, but it certainly means that at some point we might understand the other person and see more from a compassionate point of view. Now, what we do with that is completely another question.
Yeah, good point. I think people react in different ways to the things which happen to them, and sometimes bad things happen to people and they become resentful. Okay, Keshiinee, how do we know that a betrayal can happen? And let's put it in context first. Let's say it's between two friends. Okay, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. So let's say we have a good relationship with someone, it's two friends. So what are the first few signs of betrayal, let's say, which we can spot? Because usually what happens is we don't spot these mini things. I usually call them mini crises. We don't sort small things at the start, and then these things get bad, and then it reaches a point where we can't do anything. And it's the same thing which is applied to romantic relationships, let's say, or relationship with colleagues at work. It's the mini crisis which we didn't solve, which actually becomes something very bad, till you don't want to see the other person's face. So how can we spot these things, and what are they actually? How do we know it's going to happen?
I believe from my point of view, we will spot it first from our own feeling, from how we feel inside when we interact with that person. We will notice subtle changes first in the behavior of that person. Say, for example, that person will avoid looking at us in the eyes, will diminish their communications with us, be it through, through messages or through calls or through meeting personally, going out. This is one, through the attitude. Secondly, through the things that the person used to share with us and is no longer, or suddenly, that behavior of sharing has changed. Instead of sharing very deeper, more meaningful stuff, suddenly the person has become more, the sharing has become more superficial, lighter on things that we speak on a day-to-day basis without any real meaning attached to it. For example, I came to work, I ate, I was very busy, I had a lot of things to do, and there's a repeated pattern in all of that. And third, I believe it will be in our sixth sense. We need to rely on our inner voice. If despite whatever we feel for that person, there is a persistent voice inside ourselves which is saying, be careful, open your eyes, see what is happening, be open, observe, because the expression to be blind, it's not like many times when we really love a person, we are really blind to their faults. And when we love also, we can love with a little bit more discernment and see who is worthy of that love and who it is better. I won't say worthy of love because everyone is worthy of love, but whom it is better to remain at a certain distance. And when the red signals, the red flags start to flash up, it won't be, as you said, we have a tendency to put it under the carpet, brush it aside and say, no, it's just my imagination. But most of the times, our inner voice is quite loud and clear on this. And we have to open up ourselves, be in touch with ourselves to understand when our inner voice is telling us, no, that person is lying. I believe you can feel that. Even though you don't want to believe it, that person is lying, be careful.
Yeah. A long time ago, let's say if we travel back in time when we were cave people, let's say. So we didn't have the education or the rational thinking to judge people and know who is dangerous to us or no. So in our body, we have something called the limbic system, which kind of gives us like a jolt. So it gives us an intense emotion just to make us know there's danger. So I think it's still in us, actually. And maybe you'll know, if you go, sometimes you may be close to someone and you feel there's something wrong without really knowing the person. So I think we still have that sense you mentioned about. But however, once people are overwhelmed with the emotions, the mind doesn't work. And
exactly.
I've got like close friends who got into drugs or who tried to kill themselves out of love, okay, because of having their hearts broken, let's say. So when people get overwhelmed with emotions, it's really hard. The mind does not think. And actually, I was telling that to you offline. Most relationships end in the time frame of 3 to 5 months. Because what happens in the 3 to 5 months is at an initial stage. Okay, let's take a romantic relationship and put it in context so that we can develop it. So let's say we have a romantic relationship. During the first 1 or 2 months, the two individuals, they try to impress each other. All right, and that's where the brain chemicals are not balanced. That's what we call being in love. So you're trying to impress each other.
Stage, right?
Exactly. And you're trying to put your best traits or face or whatever up there. But what happens around the 4th or 5th month is, for both individuals, you start to see the true side of the person because the brain chemicals are no longer there. Okay, so that's the real you. Exactly. So if people, in theory, because most breakups happen during that time frame, so if we can go over the 5-month period and still be very good friends, or the two people still want to be together, that's a major step, actually. But during the 3 to 5 months, whatever the person has lived, it was just something biological, which, it's not that valid. So if people are still, let's say, disappointed that they met someone and it lasted like 2 months, it wasn't real. It was like, it's just brain chemicals. If you think about it that way, because if the person was really right for you, like you mentioned, then it would have worked out. And I think it's very important these 5 months, because if, let's say, there is a misunderstanding between the two people and you're able to sort things out, then that's really good foundation for the future in the relationship. Because if you can't sort out misunderstandings, and if it's really getting personal within that 5 month frame where you're trying to hurt the other one out of argument, it's really time to pull out, and we know it won't work.
And one good indication would also be nice to observe how the person reacts, for example, under pressure, under stress, or when that person is angry. What is that person's reaction, their body language, their attitude, what they say or what they do not say, because we transmit a lot through our words and through our silence also. What type of silence is that? Is that a punishing silence? So that says a lot with what is going to come afterwards. Communication here is key. And if we see that the person is gaslighting, you remember I told you I was not remembering that. That was gaslighting. So gaslighting is a big indication on that person coming to betray us or breaking our heart or hurting us after.